Hey guys, King of Charmanders here. Alright, so I didn't really need to make a video on that. Well, I want to anyways, just because Defense Deoxys is just, it's really, really good. Like, I've been doing analysis, I've been practicing with it, I've been training, I've been analyzing with it, and it's just really, really good. So if you do have one, even though I made the top 5 fighters and this one's in it, I really wanted to put it in here because Deoxys defense is very versatile. It's like kind of like a Alolan Ninetales where you can have a Charmy 9 and a Powder Snow version, but with Deoxys defense is it has a great like moveset coverage. So its charge, obviously you're going to use counter, however its charge moves are just really versatile. So with Deoxys defense, it is a pure psychic type, but what makes it so strong is that it's a super tank. So it's super tanky, and because of its amazing coverage, that's why Deoxys defense since the preseason has been one of the most powerful Pokemon in Great League, and it's really good for the Great League remix. Now, with all pure psychic typings like Mew, as you see here, you're weak to Dark and Ghost. Dark and Ghost will probably be your worst nightmare. With Umbreon being banned, your only real threat's probably Ghost, to be honest with you, because Deoxys defense actually has a strong matchup against Scrafty, just because Scrafty is weak to counter. Meanwhile, you resist. As you see here, you actually resist counter. So Deoxys defense is interesting because, yes, you don't get stab from counter, like you beat Dark type, so your only real threat is Ghost types. And if you carry Rock Slide and Thunderbolt, you have a strong chance against things like Drifblim and Jellicent. So it's very, very interesting how Deoxys defense kind of operates in this meta. It's super good and it's super powerful because it has counter. But it resists all the fighters. It also resists psychic types. So things like Hypno. It pretty much resists all the other psychic types from what I remember. Like you resist Psycho Cuts from Cresselia. You also resist Confusions from Hypno. However, you are weak to Mew just because Mew has Shadow Claw. See how confusing it gets? That's why I really think it's worth it to give a kind of deep dive analysis into Deoxys defense and find which moveset actually works for you. Now, the thing I don't like about Deoxys defense is because Deoxys defense hasn't come back in rate since like forever. The last time I remember Deoxys defense coming out was way long ago, and I actually don't even remember. And I don't remember, and that's how long it's been since Deoxys defense has come back. Like, it's so good for PvP that not having one, especially for the Great League Remix, yes, you can beat it, but it's still really, really good, and I think this is great awareness for what you can beat with it, and how you can beat it, in a sense. Alright, here we have Deoxys defense. Here's the ppoke.com rankings. Again, please consider donating at ppoke.com. Now, like I mentioned, the key weakness of Deoxys is that Dark types and essentially Ghost types. But it makes it really interesting because Deoxys actually has a chance against a lot of the Dark typings. Remember I was talking about you beat Scrafty? You also beat Bastion, and you also beat Registeel. So it's very versatile, and just because it has such a wide variety of moves, its move pool is just so vast. It's really, really powerful. As you see, A's across the board. Strong in all positions, but the leader, honestly, I think it's like really good as a lead or switch. So it's just really up to you. As you see here, it's weak to Altaria, of course, because Altaria does resist your counters, and Dragon Breath is just so powerful. However, if you do have Rock Slide and you have a sizable energy advantage, you can take out Altarias. I've done it before. You can also take out Wiggly's tough in some scenarios. I think your biggest problem would be Meganium, Wishcash, and of course Mandibuzz, because Mandibuzz is a Dark type. Now, here's a secret about Meganium and Wishcash. If you have Psycho Boost, you can actually take back Switch from Meganium and Wishcash if you have Psycho Boost. There's actually a way to do it. So just because Deoxys defense has Psycho Boost, there is a way where you can take back Switch from Grass types and from Mud Boys. It's extremely complex, so I'll describe it in like the Matrix, but it's a really hard play to do. So I'll try to manipulate. So as you see here, it's very powerful as a lead, so Deoxys defense lead isn't a bad idea. Because of its wide variety of moveset, you can use it to break shields, you can use it to punch through the lead, especially if you find a Bastion. Ironically, even though it is not a fighting type, it is technically a fighter, pseudo-fighter, that's what I call it. Pseudo-fighter is basically a fake fighter, but it's not a fighting type. It's a fighter, but it's not a fighting type, just because that's counter. But yeah, you can beat through Bastion, you can beat through Registeel. As a switch, it's still powerful because as you see, it's the number 3 switch in the game. The only thing that beats it are Vigoroth and Cresselia, and you actually beat Vigoroth. So Deoxys defense does beat Vigoroth as a safe switch, just because of the fact that you resist their counters, and Deoxys defense counters do super effective damage. As a switch, it's really, really good, just because, like I said, you could break shields with it, you can come out of it with shield advantage, farm down with whatever is in front of you, or possibly just take shields. It's very, very versatile, very, very powerful. Now, your biggest thing, I'll go over the second of its weaknesses, but the biggest thing you have to watch out for is the fact that it's in closer. So the closing scenario isn't exactly the best thing in the world. However, in the closer, remember how I mentioned you can beat Altaria? Yes, you can. So if you drop a bunch of rocks on Altaria, you can KO it. With Thunderbolt, you can KO Politoed, and with Thunderbolt, you can KO the Flyers, also with Rock Slide. So it's a very interesting mon, just because it has such a wide variety of coverage. So with counter, you generate energy quickly, and you just do a ton of charge move. Well, not a ton, considering it doesn't have a high attack, but it definitely has so much. It has a lot of coverage. That's why it's so powerful in all positions. Alright, so here's the PvPoke.com matrix. So Deoxys defense, you can't trade it since it's a mythical, so you can only pray for the best IVs you can. So it doesn't matter, like, you're going to have one that's like 10, 15, 15, or you're going to have, like, your IVs are not going to be garbage, but this is the best you can get. So, again, it's mythical, you can only get it from raids, and you can't trade it. So that's what makes it interesting, and that's what makes it so bad, because, like, the problem with Pokemon Go is barrier to entry is so godforsakenly high, that if you like Deoxys defense, but you can't use it, guess what? You're going to have to wait. And I personally don't think that's fair. But, you know, that's just the way go. I hate to say that's how the way it works, but no other game, like, works that way. No other game has a ridiculously high barrier to entry like Pokemon Go. Anyways, for Deoxys defense, the way to beat Deoxys defense is essentially Ghost and Dark types. Deoxys defense is a fighter. So, as a fighter, Deoxys defense will run through basically Dark type. Well, it'll run through Scrafty. It takes down the Ice types. Rock Slide will be able to cover the Flyers. Rock Slide also takes out Ice types. Thunderbolt takes out Flyers. And Thunderbolt also takes out the Water Archetype. So that's why Rock Slide and Thunderbolt's preferred, just because you cover such a wide range of meta. If it hits pretty... It doesn't hit hard, but because it's super effective, it does a lot of chunk damage. So, again, for this matrix, we're going to use every variation: Rock Slide Thunderbolt, Psycho Boost Rock Slide, and Psycho Boost Thunderbolt. The Greatly Great Mix to the remix to the right with battle. And as you see here, there is a difference between which variation you use. You will win or lose matches depending on which moveset you are using. As you see here, Roxas with Rock Slide Thunderbolt can beat Cresselia in the 2 shield. The reason for this is if you land a Thunderbolt. So you have to double bait with Rock Slide, and then you have to land 2 Thunderbolts. If you can't land 2 Thunderbolts, you lose. So, as you see here, it does matter which moveset you use. Generally, you'll beat pretty much everything you're supposed to beat with all movesets. For example, like Dugong, Diggersby. A good way to look at it is if your counters do super effective damage, you'll theoretically beat that matchup. Theoretically. Now, if they resist your counters, then you lose that matchup, which is why you lose against Driplim, Frostus, Haunter, and Hypno. If they resist fighting, Ghost, Flying, you lose. If they don't resist it, you win. Or if it does neutral damage, you're okay. As you see here, you can beat Shadow Hypno. That's if. But you have to... I think you have to land a Thunderbolt. Oh, no, you could just go straight Rock Slide. So against Hypno, you can just double shield and then just tear through it with Rock Slide. Now, you only win if you have Rock Slide. If you don't have Rock Slide, you lose. So just to keep in mind. And that's Shadow Hypno. If it's a regular Hypno, you lose regardless. Just because of the bulk. You beat Lapras, you also beat Shadow Champ, just because Shadow Champ is squishy. Now, here's what makes it interesting. If you have Thunderbolt, you can beat Mantine, just because Thunderbolt does super effective damage. You beat Pelipper, and you beat Mantine if you have Thunderbolt, just because Thunderbolt will wipe either one of them, just because they are double weak to electric types. Medicham, you can beat if you have Psycho Boost. The keyword is can, and that's if it's a perfect. The funny thing is about Deoxys defense and Medicham, you both resist each other's moves, because you are Psychic type, but it is a Psychic type as well. So as you see here, you can Psycho Boost it to death. However, if it is an XL, as you see here, if it is an XL, it's going to give you a hard time still. You could still beat it, but as you see here, you have to double bait with... That's what kind of makes it... That's what kind of sucks about it. Yes, you beat Medicham, but you have to double bait with Rock Slide. If you don't double bait with Rock Slide and they don't shield any of them, you lose. So if you don't Psycho Boost, or if you can't double bait and then Psycho Boost, Medicham wins. So if they call your Rock Slide because you're trying to bait, you automatically lose. That's what makes it such a dangerous matchup in the 2 shield. So just keep in mind, you have to Psycho Boost a Medicham. That's how you can beat it. Keyword is can. Meganium is a very tricky matchup. Now, you could straight Rock Slide Meganium. That's assuming... because they can tank 2 Rock Slides. Meganium is so thick that it can actually tank 2 Rock Slides. So unless they double shield this, yeah. The subsequent counter damage will kill it, but just keep in mind that Meganium can tank 2 Rock Slides. Just keep that in mind. But for the most part, you do beat in 2 shields straight Rock Slide. That's if it's even shield scenario. I mean, even energy. So if you're in the same energy, you can beat it. With Melmetal, you just literally punch through Melmetal. That's it. You don't even have to Thunderbolt it. You just, like, smack it. You just literally just smack... You just smack it to death. That's all you really do. As you see here, just punch. You never have to throw a charge move. You can throw a Rock Slide if you want to, but you never really have to throw a charge move. You just beat it to death. Now, with Munchlax, you can win if you have Psycho Boost Rock Slide. However, remember what I was talking about Rock Slide baiting? You have to double bait with Rock Slide, and then you have to Psycho Boost. The thing is, Munchlax, I think Munchlax can take like Rock Slide damage. So if they don't shield this, for example, if you do this and they don't shield it, as you see here, what you call it? Munchlax can take a Rock Slide. So this is kind of, it's a very iffy matchup. You do technically beat it, however, again, it like tanks your Rock Slide. So just be careful against Munchlax. As you see here, you can beat Toxicroak if you have Psycho Boost, but you have to Psycho Boost it. So against poison types like Toxicroak, again, you have to Psycho Boost it. You can triple Psycho Boost, but Psycho Boost is a very complex move. The reason why people don't like Psycho Boost is because if you use it, it debuffs you. Now, if you are amazing at energy management and you are an incredibly advanced player, because that Psycho Boost takes an advanced amount of understanding and knowledge and so much practice. If you use it effectively, you can use it to take back matchups and win matches, but it's so complicated. I can't explain in a video here, but as you see, Psycho Boost does do a lot of damage. The reason why a lot of people use it for the 30-second switch timer is because you can Psycho Boost and dip, or called chip and dip. So you could hit the Psycho Boost and then you could just bounce out. You beat Vigoroth, but again, like I mentioned before, a general way to look at it is you can beat several matchups depending on which moveset you're using. That's what I'm trying to say. Your moveset you use matters, so if you decide to use Deoxy'S defense, it's really up to you. In my opinion, I love Psycho Boost, that's why I use it. However, Rock Slide Psycho Thunderbolt is not the wrong moveset either. It's very, very good. Now, against the 2-shield Wish Cache, as you see here, if they switch a Wish Cache into you, you can win. So if you have, this is where it gets really complicated. So let's say you got 2 counters of energy in. So they switch their Wish Cache into you as a kind of like, you can beat it, as you see here. So if you have energy lead, you can beat a Wish Cache with Psycho Boost. What you can do also is if you time your Psycho Boost right, you can kind of like finesse your opponent. You just need 1 Psycho Boost to land. After that, you can use all that chip damage and then Psycho Boost. As you see, you can beat Wish Cache in a 2-shield with energy lead. But it's very advanced. You have to bait a shield. You either have to double bait, you have to block the Blizzard. That's one thing you have to do. So if you shield the Blizzard, it's great for you. So you don't have to shield this, but you have to shield the Blizzard. So shield the Blizzard. Make sure you be careful for Blizzard, because Blizzard will hurt a lot. But as you see here, it gives you so much play. You can Psycho Boost down a Wish Cache. So just keep that in mind if you have energy lead. So that's a way you could play around Wish Cache. But like I said, very advanced. The easier way to do it is to just use Psycho Boost, Rock Slide Thunderbolt. But as you see here, Psycho Boost is very advanced. So if you don't want to use advanced, use Rock Slide Thunderbolt. It still works really well. In the 1-shield, Deoxy'S defense does this. So in the 1-shield, it's very, very powerful. In the 1-shield, it also flips several matchups. A good example is, I think, Chestnut. For example, you can just straight Rock Slide Chestnut just because you beat it to death. For example, here. Otherwise, you're going to Psycho Boost it to death. Basically, Psycho Boost Fighters. That's pretty simple. Psycho Boost Poison, Psycho Boost Fighters. As you see here, you barely live, but you can take it out. You beat Clefable if you have Psycho Boost and Rock Slide. As you see here, Rock Slide Psycho Boost is a pretty interesting moveset. As you see here, what you're going to do is you're going to bait the shield with a Rock Slide, and then you Psycho Boost it to death. So there's a lot of fancy things you could do with Psycho Boost. With Psycho Boost, you could take out Diggersby in the 1-shield. Now, this is if this is an XL Diggersby, here's what happens. So this is a regular Diggersby. This is a level 40. This is what happens if you're using an XL. You kind of just punch it to death. Or you punch it to death in the 2 shield, but in the 1 shield you lose by like 1 HP. This is where IVs matter, because if you have a good, like, this is my IV. That's my IV Deoxy'S defense. If I have that IV, I still lose, never mind. So, just be careful of Diggersby if it's XL. Because if it's an XL Diggersby, it can beat you in the 1 shield. Unless you have, like, energy lead, then you can take out Diggersby. But general rule of thumb, you can punch it to death. Make sure you shield Earthquakes. That's pretty much it. You still beat Excavalier, you still beat Ferrothorn, because you resist Ferrothorn's counters, but you do neutral damage to Excavalier, because if it's Bug and Steel, it does neutral damage. As you see here, Hypno, you beat Hypno, you also beat Shadow Hypno if you have Rock Slide Thunderbolt, because you could Thunderbolt the regular Hypno, as you see here. Rock Slide, Thunderbolt, Rock Slide. You could even need a Shadow Ball, but you only beat it in the 1 shield. Other than that, you only beat it if you have advantage. See where I mean, Matt? Like, it's really complicated. Again, if you feel like you don't know, just run your moveset here and figure it out. Try to figure out what you're doing. In the 1 shield, you can beat Meganium if you have Rock Slide Psycho Boost. So this is where it gets even more complicated. This is because you bait with Rock Slide, double Psycho Boost. So there are ways to win against really meta Pokemon with Psycho Boost, but it takes so much skill that it's ridiculous. You have to be really used to playing it. That's why I think it's kind of unfair that it's not been out for a while, because if you don't have it, you don't have it. This video, if you don't have it, is more aware to make you aware that it's really freaking good and what kills and what it can beat. So as you see here, Psycho Boost and Thunderbolt can take out Wishcash. I don't know why it's put like this, but you basically Psycho Boosted to death. And of course in the 1 shield, you can take out Wigglytuff. In the Zeros, Deoxy'S defense is able to destroy Altaria, so that's what makes Psycho, like, as you see here, just because Rock Slide can chunk, so if you have Rock Slides can take out Altaria, just because of how thick you are. So, this is why Altaria kind of is like, how can you kill me? Because you win in the Zeros, or you win if you have shield advantage. Now, of course, you're going to beat down Bastiodon, you're going to beat down Dugong, or anything that's weak to it. This is where you will lose against some of the like ghost typings, for example, like Driplim, just because you can't Thunderbolt or Rock Slide. You can't Thunderbolt Jellicent, you can't Rock Slide Driplim, just because it's going to get to its move, and Shadow Ball hurts a lot. So again, general rule of thumb, as you see in the Zeros, it's pretty generic. If it's weak to fighting, if it's weak to Rock Slide or Thunderbolt, you can kill it. Or if it's a poison type and you have Psycho Boost, if you Psycho Boost it, you kill it. It's that simple. Also, with Psycho Boost, you can kill Wishcash in the Zeros. So this is where Psycho Boost kind of matters. It matters so much that here's the general synopsis with Psycho Boost. With Psycho Boost, you can take out Toxicroak. You could take out other poison types like Shadow Victory Bell. It also gives you an out versus Medicham. That's the basic basis with Psycho Boost. In a more advanced pattern, it can let you take Switch against Wishcash if you have Energy Lead. It can also let you take Switch against Meganium. So keep that in mind. Those are 2 key matchups, Meganium and Wishcash, for Psycho Boost. Other than that, if you're not used to Psycho Boosting, just Rock Slide Thunderbolt. Still a good moveset, still flips what you need to flip, and in most part, beats what you need to beat, unless it's a poison type, as you see here. Because you could just because Psycho Boost just wipes out Toxicroak and it wipes out Shadow Victory Bell. If you hit a Psycho Boost on either one of these, you will win. If you have shield advantage, Deoxy'S defense is a monster. Because it's a super tank, it beats literally everything except ghost types. And dark types. And and pretty much Wishcash unless you have Psycho Boost. So just because, the reason why Wishcash sucks is because it does wall both of your charge moves. Ground resists Rock, and it also resists Thunderbolt. Actually, Ground double resists Thunderbolt, so it's even worse. However, if you're in the 2 to 0s, Deoxy'S defense wipes out the entire meta. So if you have 2 shields and you have a Deoxy'S defense, it will wipe out the entire meta. So keep that in mind. That's a good strategy. If you can get there, it's really hard to get to 2 to 0s, but if you can get there, it's really freaking good. In the shield advantage scenario, as you see here, you could beat a bunch of things, but you'll lose against ghost types. So Deoxy'S defense, if you see a ghost type, expect to lose that matchup unless you have a humongous energy lead. Unless you have like a humongous energy lead. So just keep that in mind, because ghost types are very powerful against Deoxy'S defense, and the only ghost type that's really out here that threatens you is probably... No, actually the only dark type, I mean. Manabuzz can threaten you, and actually not the only one. So Manabuzz and Sableye. As you see here, Jellicent beats you all the scenarios except 2 to 0s if you have Rock Slide Thunderbolt. It doesn't really matter. So unless you can Thunderbolt Jellicent and it's like half dead, you can't win. So keep that in mind. For Mr. Noodle Jelly Arms, the only way to beat it is generally, well, not the only way to beat it, but generally you will lose hard against ghost and dark types. Deoxys defense, if it resists counters, you lose to it most of the time, and if it's super effective, as in Dark and Ghost, like I keep mentioning, it will kill you. So just keep that in mind. As far as team building goes with Deoxy'S defense, it works in all positions, but because it's so specific, again, just tailor it to what you want. Generally, you're going to use Deoxy'S defense as a tank. Functions well as a safe switch, is good in other positions. So like I said, it's really up to you. You can lead with it, break shields, sack it, or you can use it as a safe switch, break shields, leave you with shield advantage, or do something of that sort. So Deoxy'S defense, as you see, its individual profile is extremely powerful. It is, like I said, it's probably, in my opinion, the best, like, not the strongest, but like the best overall. If you're looking for a tank and you like being a safe player, this is a very good switch for you. Now here's what sucks. So Deoxy'S defense pairs very well. You might have seen this team before. Bastiodon, Deoxy'S defense, Shadow Victory Bell. Keep in mind, this is a very popular tap-tap team with Deoxy'S defense safe switch. In the Great League Remix, it works really well. The reason being is because unless it's Meganium, as you see here, unless you see Registeel in the lead, this team does really good. So just keep in mind and be very, very careful that this team actually does. Well, if you have a fighter, you can pretty much erase Bastiodon, but if this team catches you and they get alignment, you're probably going to die. Just keep that in mind. So this is the famous tap-tap Bastiodon, Deoxy'S defense, Shadow Victory Bell. Watch out for it. It might be out there. If it is, cry. Unless you beat it, unless you catch Bastiodon in the lead and then you just rock, paper, scissors to death. So, yeah. Anyways, for Deoxy'S defense, if you're trying to make a good team with it, like, you know, a team that makes sense, I mean, you can use tap-tap if you want to. But Deoxy'S defense also forms well with, like, a lot of meta picks. For example, it forms well with pretty much anything. The only thing is you need to watch out for Dark and you need to watch out for Ghost types, so having two things against that would be pretty preferred. For example, if you run against Alola Ninetales is a Fairy type, so it does resist those Dark type attacks. As you see here, it does really well as coverage. If we close out with Altaria isn't a bad thing. Like, Deoxy'S defense can punch through Bastion and Registeel, so even though it's a Psychic type, ironically, it still does look really good against those typings. However, okay, so I'm not going to do that. You don't want double weak. You could use Altaria, but be mindful that the reason why I don't like this combination is because if you look at your... Like, it's a really good team, don't get me wrong. The issue I have with it is that, look at Registeel. If you don't catch Registeel or Bastiodon in the lead, it will destroy your back rows. So this is why I don't like this. I don't like the whole idea of one, like, yeah, just don't do it. You can, but, like, it's not going to be a great idea. However, Deoxy'S defense works well with the Alola Ninetales. As you see here, again, it's really, really strong. If you put this combination, and I think if you put... Okay, Mandible... I think, not really, just because of Flash Cannon. Let's see. What about... What if you do... Well, not Sableye. I'm trying to, like, figure it out. You could do... The reason why it's so good with Mandibuzz is because... Okay, so the reason why it's asking for Mandibuzz is to cover the Ghost typing. You need, like, Deoxy'S defense is weak against Ghost. A9 does well against a lot of Ghost variants. If you do give it Mandibuzz in the back, yes, you are in danger against Registeel. However, this is a really freaking good team. Holy crap. Yeah, this is a really good... Dear Mother of Mercy. Wow. Wow, Mandibuzz is a really good mon with this combination. Yeah, it actually is. As you see here, the only weakness you have is Skuntank, and I don't foresee a Skuntank. If you see Bastion in the lead, so you safe switch into... Your safe switch is probably going to be Mandibuzz. So if you don't see Bastion in the lead, you're probably going to see it with Mandibuzz. But the thing about Mandibuzz and what makes it good with Deoxy'S defense, it covers Deoxy'S defense. So if you notice, a lot of Deoxy'S defense's weaknesses are covered by Mandibuzz. So Mandibuzz is a great combo with... Yeah, it's a really... Holy crap, this is a really good team. Good bulk, like, amazing bulk safety. Like, it's a super safe team. Really good team. You can also pair it with super meta, so if we put Registeel in here, this is what happens. So you can kind of just put it, Deoxy'S defense, Ninetales, Registeel, here's what happens. Because Deoxy'S defense can beat fighters, and alone Ninetales Weather Balls them to death. And you also have, as you see here, this is a very powerful team as well. Like I said, Deoxy'S defense cores well with a lot of things. You can use it in the lead, you can use it as a safe switch, you can use it in the closer. Generally, it pairs well. Just make sure you cover Ghost types or Dark types, which is why A9's in here. For example, like, if you want to cover Ghost types, you can pair it with Vigoroth, do some, like, fancy double fighter thing, and then it still works really well with multiple combinations, as you see here. So, not a lot of coverage, but very great bulk, great safety. Now, as you see here, your biggest weakness is going to be Dripling, but... Yeah, it's a really, like I said, it pairs well with so many things just because it's versatile in many positions. So, again, Rock Slide, Thunderbolt, there's really not a wrong moveset with Deoxy'S defense. It's just really, really good. And this is one of the issues I have with PvP. Yes, I have a Deoxy'S defense. Doesn't mean I like that. Not everyone has access to it. No, I actually do not like that. And that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Deoxy'S defense, as you see, is really complicated. However, if you like using Bastiodon, Registeel, I think you should watch out for this because Deoxy'S defense is a really great generalist. A generalist in PvP is basically something that covers a whole wide range of typings, and Deoxy'S defense, as you see for Great League Remix, is a fantastic generalist. It can do a lot of things, and it can take a lot of shields. Again, if you want to beat it, there are a lot of things that can beat Deoxy'S defense. Psychic types, things that resist it, like Psychic types. Mew can beat Deoxy'S defense. Ghost types and Dark types can beat Deoxy'S defense. Your main things that you're going to look at as far as Dark types to beat Deoxy'S defense are Mandibuzz and Sableye. As far as, like... yeah, that's Ghost typing. Also, Mandibuzz and Jellicent do have a pretty strong matchup against Deoxy'S defense. Just be careful of Thunderbolt and Rock Slide. So, again, just the Ghost and Darks. That doesn't mean you have to beat it. Deoxy'S defense will fall if you do enough chip damage to it, like with any other mon. But again, like, there's a lot of things that can beat it. Psychic types, Ghost types, and Dark types are the biggest ones that come to mind. Also, Altaria does beat Deoxy'S defense unless it's in the zeros. Because in the zeros, you just get... Deoxy'S defense drops a bunch of rocks on your head. That's pretty much it. Your poor chicken will die, and it's going to get buried underneath a bunch of rubble. So... again, hopefully this video did help you out. Again, if you like Deoxy'S defense, it's really good in all positions. But I wanted to make a video specifically for it because moveset does matter. Which moveset you choose can flip a lot of scenarios. So make sure you study. Hopefully this video answered some of your questions. Other than that, good luck in your Go Battle League sets, and I will see you guys on the next video.
Ciao!